Yes, or I'm going to have to get some lawyers involved.
Yeah.
And he's ignored you this whole time.
Yeah.
He hasn't even had the decency to
No.
have a conversation about it.
I finally told Robyn that I really can't stand the idea of living here, or at least at this point. Robyn, I think, was the last to give up on the dream, but she's finally consented. Yeah, let's go ahead and sell. I'm pretty positive that Mary and Janelle want to sell.
Cody's end game is here. Is he trying to play a game with us so we just get so tired of it that we're like, we just dump it? It's like, fine, you have it.
Coyote Pass, the dusty red rock Shangri-la that was once going to cradle Cody Brown's hand-drawn cul-de-sac of harmony, has apparently vanished from the family ledger in the quietest transaction Flagstaff has ever seen. County insiders whisper that the 14-acre parcel sold for a cool $1.5 million. Yet the deal unfolded so stealthily it feels ripped from a late-night telenovela. No TLC drones hovering, no triumphant selfies. Just 2 hurried signatures scraped across a stack of escrow papers.
This property, and talking to Justin about selling, it's all such a mixed bag of emotion.
Moments before the courthouse lights clicked off, word is Cody strutted in looking like he just power walked through a dust storm, hair frizzed, nerves buzzing, while Robyn kept the pens poised. Allegedly, a single ex-wife was ushered in to sign her release, and then poof. The doors shut, the notary stamped, the clerk filed, and somewhere in a tidy column of numbers, an entire ex-partner line reads a brutal, ice-cold $0. Picture it. You've spent years squabbling over who paid the property taxes, wrangling water tanks, and dreaming up porch swings, only to wake up and discover the land has already left the family chat.
My name's only on 1 piece. Is your name on 2 pieces?
Yeah, he could sell the 2-acre piece he and Robyn on and the 5 acres.
Rumor has it the excluded ex learned the news secondhand, long after escrow was humming, when a friend texted, did you sign something? Friends say she's oscillating between numb shock and volcanic fury, weighing whether to speed dial. That attorney she once swore she'd never need. Meanwhile, Cody is allegedly shrugging off questions in grocery store parking lots, insisting he and Robyn just recouped what we put in, tossing out a figure about being $160,000 deeper than any of the other wives. The math may or may not check out, but the optics? Straight up scandal.
But now there's this big fight about how do we divide it. I don't know what to expect from Cody. He's been kind of an ass about the property, so he might be an ass about it as we move forward, who knows.
So the $1.5 million question becomes, who's the ex-wife left clutching thin air? Is it Mary, the original ride or die who kept hoping the family would circle the wagons again? Janelle, the pragmatic budget guru who begged for an appraisal? Or Christine, already basking in Utah sunshine and presumably sipping victory lemonade? Allegedly, only one of those women just discovered her slice of paradise was sliced right out from under her. Buckle up, because if the whispers are true, that dotted line betrayal is just the first ember, and the desert wind at Coyote Pass is notorious for fanning tiny sparks into full-blown infernos. Back when the red dirt sun first kissed that empty ridge, Cody practically danced across the sagebrush, promising each wife her own dream porch, all 4 houses fanning out like petals of some perfect plural marriage flower. He talked cul-de-sac barbecues, grandchildren racing their bikes in a dusty figure 8, and family meetings lit by Arizona sunsets so fiery they'd make Vegas neon look tame.
She's told me she's planning on, she keeps suggesting we sell it.
Oh.
And she keeps suggesting we sell it together.
Mary picked a patch nearest the road because, she joked, someone had to keep an eye on the Amazon packages. Janelle zeroed in on a rise, where she swore solar panels would soak up every watt of daylight. Robyn claimed the slice with the widest view, while Christine wandered off imagining a kitchen big enough for cinnamon roll marathons. In confessionals, they clutched plat maps like golden tickets and told viewers they were this close to pouring foundations the minute the property was paid off. Then, life did what it does. Kids aged out, COVID crashed in, and marriage after marriage hit the skids. Meetings about floor plans morphed into tense Zoom calls about overdue water tank rentals. Christine's split cracked the first fault line. Janelle's simmering frustration opened the second. Mary, ever the optimist, still kept a dusty box of cabinet samples in her Flagstaff rental, just in case. But each time the family gathered on Coyote Pass to walk the fence line, the atmosphere felt less like a housewarming and more like a farewell tour. Cody's cheerful blueprints stayed rolled up, his grand family lot now haunted by what-ifs and half-buried trailer hitches. So when word leaked that the land had been sold off in one hush-hush bundle, fans felt the betrayal like a gut punch. All that talk of legacy, gone in a single signature sprint. The dream wasn't just theirs. Viewers had invested 13 seasons of late-night popcorn and group chat debates into seeing those homes rise.
So regarding the property, we're gonna have to start talking about how we're gonna divide it up, and I don't know how or when that conversation is gonna go.
Instead, they're watching bulldozers circle a future cul-de-sac that now belongs to strangers. No wonder social media erupted. The family's promised paradise didn't just shrink, it vanished, replaced by a for sale under contract sign that might as well read, "Hope closed for business." The moment the sale whispers hit Reddit, amateur sleuths dove into county filings and uncovered something that reads like a desert noir. The buyer of record isn't Smith or Garcia or even Brown. It's an LLC spun up only a week before closing, tucked behind the blandly mysterious name Saguaro Peak Investments, LLC. Dig a little deeper and you find that address. Traces back to a P.O. box shared by a Scottsdale developer notorious, allegedly, for flipping wide-open ranch land into luxury mini-estates. Picture infinity pools, pickleball courts, and driveway gates that swing wider than the family's collective trust right now. According to one well-placed escrow whisperer, the deal closed on a Friday at 5:47 p.m., precisely 13 minutes before the recorder's office locked its doors. A timing choice that feels less like coincidence and more like cloak and dagger. Choreography. Here's how the night reportedly unfolded. An SUV with tinted windows idled near the back entrance, while Cody, Robyn, and a single ex-wife slid inside, each clutching crisp manila folders. The notary, called in after normal hours for what sources describe as a rush no photography signing, checked IDs, stamped pages, and whisked the stack into a banker's box destined for a vault just south of Phoenix.
Part of me just wants to walk away because it's just so irritating.
Yeah.
But I have to stick it out and see
I'm not walking
it.
away from this.
Absent from that dim fluorescent room, the other ex-wives who had spent years arguing over appraisal values and fence posts, their phones, insiders claim, stayed eerily silent. One was at dinner with friends when a text pinged, "Congrats on the sale?" Another was deep in weekend mom mode, oblivious until paparazzi shots surfaced of Cody leaving the recorder's parking lot, sleeves rolled up, looking every bit the man who had finally cut the Gordian knot on his own terms. Why the secrecy? Rumor has it Saguaro Peak demanded strict non-disclosure to keep competing builders from swooping in. Others insist Cody pushed for hush-hush paperwork to avoid a social media circus that might tank the price. The irony, of course, is that the circus is now in full swing, just without the courtesy of ticket stubs. As for the developers' intentions, whispers swirl about subdividing the 14 acres into 5 gated lots, each boasting million-dollar vistas and a promise of privacy the Browns could only dream of. Translation: the cul-de-sac of unity is slated to become an enclave for strangers who will never know the fights, tears, and cinnamon roll fantasies buried beneath their future driveways. And for the ex-wife whose signature never graced that late-night stack, she's reportedly lawyer shopping, and the NDA can't gag a lawsuit that hasn't been filed yet. Mary had always been the one to color code the family calendar, to send perky just checking in texts back when emojis still felt hopeful. So when she finally fired off an email titled Coyote Pass Settlement Urgent, no smiley, all business, everyone knew patience had officially left the building. In the message, she kept the tone polite but unmistakably pointed. "We need to meet, we need an appraisal, and if we can't settle civilly, I'll be forced to retain counsel." That single legal hint hit inboxes like a thunderclap in July, yet the reply column stayed stubbornly blank. Days turned into weeks, and Mary's refresh button marathon produced nothing but a spinning wheel and rising blood pressure. Friends say she reread her draft a dozen times, wondering if she'd been too gentle. Not gentle enough, or maybe still too optimistic for a woman staring down the possibility of getting zilch after 30 years of plural marriage teamwork. Meanwhile, Cody allegedly muttered to Robyn about overreacting and unnecessary lawyer fees, insisting the land's value was obvious and they'd get to it when things calmed down. Spoiler, things never calmed down. Each sunset over Coyote Pass stained Mary's mood a deeper shade of crimson frustration, especially after she learned, through grapevine whispers, not an actual phone call, that Cody had already toured the property with a realtor. According to a mutual friend, Mary's phone pinged one random Monday with a group chat alert. Janelle venting about Cody's mysterious after-hours meeting on the land. Mary scrolled, jaw tightening, then screenshotted her original email and dropped it back into the chat with the caption, "Still waiting for a reply." The dead air response spoke volumes. That night, she poured a glass of something strong, Googled real estate attorney Flagstaff, and bookmarked 3 firms. Just bookmarking, she told herself. Yet the next morning, her cursor hovered over the schedule consultation button like a nervous hummingbird. Cody, meanwhile, continued spinning his version on camera, claiming everyone would be treated fairly once they stopped nagging. The word nag landed like a slap. Mary confided to her best friend Jen that she'd spent decades biting her tongue for the sake of family unity, but had no intention of leaving Coyote Pass cash poor and dignity poorer. Maybe, Jen suggested, it's time to stop being the family's peacekeeper and start being your own advocate. By the following Friday, Mary's polite resolve had hardened into something decidedly sharper. The attorney's number was saved under Desert Defender, because a girl can still keep her sense of humor while sharpening her legal claws. Janelle has always treated real estate the way other people treat grocery coupons. She wants the numbers neat, the savings obvious, and the receipts filed alphabetically. So when talk of selling Coyote Pass first bubbled up, she marched in with spreadsheets, a list of certified land appraisers, and the very sensible suggestion that nobody should even think about signing contracts until a professional stamped a proper price tag on every cactus. Cody's reaction? An eye roll so dramatic it practically needed its own camera angle. He called appraisals a waste of money, insisting he had a pretty good idea of the acreage's worth. Translation, according to insiders, "We'll do it my way. Trust me." Trust was in short supply. Janelle had been down the trust me road before, once about an RV hookup, once about splitting household bills, and both times ended with her quietly covering extra costs, while Cody waxed philosophical about family sacrifices. This time, she drew the line. She sent the names of 3 appraisers to the family group chat, tagged Cody directly, and added, "Please confirm which day works." Cody didn't pick a day. He picked a fight, muttering that the land's value was obvious since he and Robyn had poured in the most cash. Janelle, unimpressed, countered with hard figures showing her mortgage refi had covered a chunk of property taxes during the lean pandemic year. The debate stalled when Cody pivoted to a monologue about feeling emotionally attached to certain lots, an argument that might win hearts on reality TV but loses steam fast when the bank wants its math. Privately, Janelle vented that Cody was dodging the appraisal because it would nail down a number that left less wiggle room for creative accounting. Friends say she even joked about bringing a tape measure and doing the square foot math herself if he kept stonewalling. Meanwhile, Cody brushed off the tension in confessionals, calling the wives' requests nagging, a word that landed like a brick in Janelle's inbox. She replied, curt and clinical, that due diligence is not nagging, it's basic adulting. Rumor has it that message still sits unread, but unread doesn't mean ineffective. The moment Janelle threatened to schedule the appraisal solo and send him the invoice, Cody's tune allegedly shifted from waste of money to maybe we can talk. Whether talk actually leads to action is anyone's guess, but one thing's clear, Janelle isn't budging until a licensed pro slaps a certified price on every last tumbleweed, even if she has to drag the measuring wheel across Coyote Pass herself. Cody's favorite new catchphrase is sweat equity, and he drops it anytime someone mentions splitting the money evenly, as though hauling a few water tanks in July somehow added a personal ATM onto his side of the ledger. In confessionals, he started rattling off dollar figures like a late-night infomercial host. Robyn and I put in $160,000 more than anybody else, plus labor, plus interest, plus emotional damage. The number shifts by a few thousand every time he says it, but the gist never changes. He and Robyn, in his telling, are the only ones deep enough in the financial trenches to deserve first, and maybe second, dibs on the payout pie. Viewers were quick to notice that whenever he cites that extra $160,000, he also slips in a pointed shrug, half martyr, half accountant, all theatrics. Robyn, for her part, has adopted a quieter but equally strategic stance. Instead of spouting figures, she tilts her head and reminds anyone within earshot that her home sale back in Vegas saved the family during the lean year. If we hadn't stepped up, she says in her trademark near whisper, the property tax people would have come knocking. The unspoken subtext, we fronted the cash, so we're simply reclaiming what's ours. Whether that math checks out is murkier than an Arizona monsoon cloud. Janelle's spreadsheets show multiple wives covering bills at different times. Mortgage gaps here, trailer rentals there, yet Cody keeps circling back to the one lump sum he and Robyn shouldered, presenting it like an undisputed trump card. What really rankles the other ex-wives isn't just the numbers, it's the narrative. By framing themselves as the heroic investors, Cody and Robyn cast everyone else in the role of silent partners who ought to be grateful for scraps. Behind the scenes, Mary reportedly calls it financial gaslighting, while Janelle jokes that if sweat equity counts, she'd like retroactive credit for every night she slept in that RV with busted air conditioning. The tension reached a new pitch when Cody allegedly floated a payout schedule that reimbursed him and Robyn first, with the remainder divided later, after fees, of course, and contingent on market fluctuations. Translation: trust us today, cash out eventually. Whether this bigger investment defense holds legal water remains to be seen, but emotionally it's already scorched the earth. Every time Cody repeats that $160,000 mantra, social media detectives post side-by-side clips of the wives detailing their own contributions, turning what began as a family dream into a full-blown ledger war. And until a judge, or a very patient mediator, totals up every receipt, Cody's self-appointed role as chief investor is just that. Self-appointed. Cody once called Coyote Pass his blank canvas, and for a while, the wives let themselves believe they were co-artists, finger-painting futures on acres of red clay. They stood in ankle-deep dust planning kids' bedrooms, swapping cookie recipes for neighborhood potlucks that never happened, laughing about how desert sunsets would tint their gray hairs rose gold. Now, the same ridge feels like standing on the ruins of a blueprint too painful to unroll. Cody walks the fence line muttering that the land is a heartbreak place, but the ache isn't his alone. It's pooled in every empty promise still echoing through those juniper branches. Mary remembers dragging folding chairs out there for makeshift vision boards, poster paper flapping while she sketched the porch swing she'd share with grandbabies. Janelle can still point to the exact slope where she once tested soil pH, convinced her raised bed lettuce would thrive. Robyn, last to surrender the dream, used to pace the imaginary driveway rehearsing how the kids would race scooters to Grandma's house 2 lots away. Even Christine, long gone to Utah, left a fragment of her hopeful voice on that breeze, narrating cinnamon roll aromas drifting across the cul-de-sac. So when the sale closed in silence, it wasn't just a real estate deal, it was the final shovelful of dirt on 3 decades worth of shared mythology. Fans who'd binge-watched the family's ups and downs felt sucker punched too, because they'd invested Friday nights and entire group chat dissertations rooting for that compound of coordinated porch lights. Instead, the only glow out there now is a surveyor's stake reflecting moonlight, marking where someone else's entry gate will rise. And every time an ex-wife drives past the private property sign, she's not just passing land, she's passing the alternate timeline where birthdays overlapped, where holiday bonfires lit 4 matching facades, where fights ended with cocoa on a communal patio instead of cold silence over Zoom. Losing Coyote Pass means accepting that Unity is no longer an address you can punch into a GPS. It's officially a ghost town of good intentions, and even the tumbleweeds seem to roll by a little slower, as if paying their respects before the developers pave everything flat. Money might be the fuel, but it's the missing money that's really lighting this powder keg. Because for the ex-wife who allegedly walked away with nothing, no final check, no hush-hush handshake, this isn't just about land. It's about decades of building a life, only to watch it cashed out without so much as a heads up. Rumor has it the payout was supposed to be a neat 4-way split, $375,000 each, give or take. Enough to soften the sting of seeing the family's dream dirt become someone else's concrete slab. But according to insiders close to the deal, one of those 4 names was never penciled in. She's been left to piece together secondhand updates like some twisted game of telephone. The numbers never quite adding up, and the silence louder than any dollar sign. The math itself seems almost beside the point. $1.5 million sliced 4 ways sounds straightforward until you factor in who paid which property tax in which year, who fronted the water tanks, who covered extra HOA fees, who loaned the down payment money to begin with. Cody and Robyn's ongoing claim to have poured in more than anyone just stirs the pot further, creating a narrative where more somehow translates to more deserved. But what's haunting fans, and apparently one very frustrated ex-wife, is the sense that this wasn't a financial disagreement so much as a decision made behind closed doors, with no room left at the table for someone who once shared everything. Friends close to the family say she's stopped waiting for an apology and started calling attorneys, because if she can't get closure in a family group chat, she's going to find it in a courtroom. And while we don't have receipts yet to say if papers have actually been filed, the word in Flagstaff is that legal letters are already being drafted. That's not the end of the story, though. It's the next chapter. one where lawyers become the new therapists and trust becomes another line item on a property ledger. And for viewers who've spent years watching this family map out a compound that was supposed to be eternal, this betrayal feels like the final gut punch. Not just a lost dream, but a bank statement proving how little some promises actually cost. You can almost hear the keyboard clacking on Reddit forums as fans try to piece together what went down, and more importantly, what comes next. Because in the world of reality TV, money fights are rarely just about the money. They're about old alliances and fresh betrayals. About the ex-wives who once made cozy chili nights in matching kitchen islands and now find themselves squinting at blurry scans of county filings to figure out if they've been cheated out of their fair share. Social media's already ablaze. Hashtags like Coyote Pass cash grab trending as people demand answers. And a few are calling for full forensic audits like this was a missing persons case, not a real estate sale. Meanwhile, lawyers in Flagstaff are allegedly getting busy. Some sources say an attorney already has the file in hand. And while nobody's talking about court dates yet, the vibes are unmistakable. If you're the ex-wife left empty-handed, it's not just an insult, it's a call to action. Rumor has it the other ex-wives, even the ones who signed, are privately worried too. Because if Cody and Robyn can ice out one of them, who's to say the fine print won't eventually come back to haunt them all? In the middle of all this, Cody's still out there playing the calm cowboy in confessionals, talking about emotional wounds and healing time, as if his desert heartbreak speech will make anyone forget he just turned a family dream into a personal payday. Robyn, meanwhile, is sticking to her, "We're just taking back what's ours" script, carefully rehearsed, carefully delivered, like she's reading from a teleprompter built on sand. The question fans keep asking, on TikTok, on podcasts, in whispered conversations over morning coffee, is whether any of the ex-wives will take this all the way to court. Because if it turns out that one of them really did get nothing, if the signatures on those final pages really did leave her name off the payout line, then this isn't just a split, it's a final crack that might splinter the whole sister wives' legacy. And for the viewers who've stuck around for every betrayal and every tearful couch confessional, the only thing more shocking than the sale itself is how far one ex-wife might go to finally, officially get her due. And here's where it gets even murkier, because for Mary, Janelle, and Christine, that heartbreak hill of Coyote Pass isn't just a chapter in their own story. It's the setting of every family photo they ever posed for, the backdrop of every argument that ended with a tearful apology, or didn't. So to hear that one of them may have been left with nothing while the others signed away their piece of that history behind closed doors, that's a betrayal that goes deeper than any property line. Insiders say Mary is the one feeling that gut punch the most. She's the one who always hoped that someday the family would find its way back to those red rocks, even if she had to watch from her own lonely lot. She's the one who sent those carefully worded emails, who kept trying to keep the peace even when she knew deep down she'd probably never build there. Friends say she's numb, maybe even past the point of anger, because what's left to fight for when your name isn't on the check and your voice wasn't in the room? Janelle, on the other hand, has always had her eyes on the bottom line, and she's allegedly already talking to accountants about how the final numbers line up. She's the kind of woman who can pull out 3 decades worth of receipts in color-coded folders if she has to. And if the math doesn't add up, you can bet she'll find someone in a suit who can do the subtraction. Christine might be gone from Arizona, but she's not gone from the memories. And her name was always part of that property's story, even if she walked away years ago. She's the one fans say is probably the safest from this mess, the one who cashed out early and left before the final dagger fell. But even she must be watching the headlines now, shaking her head at how the dream she once believed in has turned to dust and dollar signs. For the fans, that's the real heartbreak. Not just that the family split, but that the final chapter of Coyote Pass was written in backroom deals and unsigned checks. It's a quiet ending for a property that was supposed to be a beginning, and it leaves one ex-wife, whoever she is, with nothing but the echo of promises that were never meant to be kept. And that brings us to the final reveal that's been lurking beneath every hush-hush meeting and every closed-door deal. If whispers are true, the ex-wife left holding nothing but desert dust is allegedly Mary, the loyal first wife, the one who weathered Cody's shifting affections and endless lectures about loyalty, has apparently been left with no share of that $1.5 million check. And the heartbreak is almost Shakespearean. The woman, who once believed that faith and patience could rebuild a dream, now finds herself cut out entirely, no matter how many times she asked for a seat at the table. Insiders close to the family say that while Mary never stopped hoping for fairness, she's also done waiting for it to appear out of thin air. And the question hanging over everything now isn't just about who signed which line or who funded which lot, it's about whether Mary will finally, for the first time in decades, choose herself over the family. Because fans know this isn't just a legal fight brewing. It's a personal reckoning for a woman who spent most of her adult life smoothing over conflicts in a house that never seemed to have enough room for her. Now, with the money gone and the fences up, Mary's next chapter might not be about Flagstaff at all. It might be about what she can build for herself, far away from the shadows of Coyote Pass. And for the viewers who've watched this story twist and turn for over a decade, there's a haunting finality to that. Coyote Pass was never just a piece of land. It was a promise of unity, of home, of love that could survive the odds. That promise has been sold to the highest bidder, and the woman who believed in it the longest is the one left without a single acre to call her own. So what do you think? Was Mary's loyalty her downfall, or will this be the spark that finally sets her free? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because the next chapter is just getting started, and this desert drama is far from over.